Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. Let me just kind of adjust some things here. Okay. It's Saturday night and hey, how you doing? I don't expect anybody beyond. Oh, you guys are coming on. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Saturday night. That's usually my work night. I have a class in the morning that I help with the junior instructor, Ken. Actually, you might have seen a video with him in it. And today, I've got some great news to share with you. Kama Jiu-Jitsu will be moving. Our Flower Mound campus, rather, will be moving. We're currently in the Crossfire Defense Academy facility, but we're going to our own location starting June 1st, Friday. And this will be our home. We have a lease on this one, a long-term lease in this place. We've got great suspended flooring mats. So for those of you guys who like to do judo like we do and who like to do takedowns and do it in a way that will allow you to keep doing it, suspended floor is the way to go. What I'll do is I'll have Rusty put together a video kind of showing what we've got going on over there. I think it'll interest a lot of you guys. Okeechobee, Florida. Awesome. Hey guys, do me a favor, hit the like button when you get a chance. That kind of helps with our algorithms and helps us to get these videos out to more of you, and then therefore making me able to do more of them for you. And what I wanted to cover today was how to prevent injury. And I can't remember for the life of me who had asked me about that or who had asked me to do a video on that. I actually did one earlier on my phone, and I didn't do it in a live format. I just did it. I had it recorded, so I was going to send it to Rusty, but it didn't come out the way I liked. So I ended up chucking it. And anyway, I hope everything is going well. And let me kind of go over some things and how to prevent injury in jiu-jitsu. First of all, the one who is most, or who needs to be relied on most to prevent injuries, is you, right? You need to protect yourself, because if you don't protect yourself, others will not. Especially if you're one of those crazy rollers, you'll just kind of go ape shit in people, and you just kind of do things with reckless abandon, and you don't care if you get injured. Nobody really likes to get injured, but some people just seem to be more prone to injury than others. And you have that one guy who's just crazy but doesn't seem to ever get injured. Well, what you need to do is really protect yourself when training with him, because he may spaz out on you, and I've seen that a lot. And when people spaz out, they injure people. They don't mean to, but they do. And a lot of times they know that they're spazzes, they just really can't help it. So, and by the way, if there's any kind of questions that you want for me to cover on this live stream that doesn't have to do with the topic, feel free to shoot it in the box here, so I can kind of know. There aren't too many of us on here, so I can probably get to all of your questions. If you ask a question and I don't get to it, or it seems that I've changed subject and I haven't gotten to it, then feel free to type it in again, because sometimes it might just go right by me and I don't see it. So number one rule, protect yourself. And if you have good training partners, they will also protect you as well. But this is an aggressive thing that we do. And when I'm trying to submit you, I can injure you by accident. And it could be, for instance, for me, it's my shoulder and my elbows. So I can't, if I lay my back flat on the ground, I can't put the entire part of my hand on the ground. In fact, my hands will float about this much above the ground when I lay them back this way. That's one, and that's just from years of arthritis and inflammation, as Dr. JB was saying in the previous video. That and my elbows, if they get pushed too hard, if I press them too much, they hurt like hell. It just feels like my elbows are going to pop open over here. So I'll tap. If somebody gets me in a spot where I can't move and they've got my arm pressed down here and I'm not able to protect it, then yeah, I'll totally tap to it. I'm protecting myself. I don't want to get injured. We do a lot of heavy guard passing, especially when you stack, and try to not let anybody stack me when they're passing my guard. Even if it's a private and I'm trying to help them, I make sure to really know what they're doing and guide them slow. I'll tell them slow down, slow down. Okay, put the pressure. Yep, go, stack, 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 and then I'll say, okay, good. And sometimes from the time I say good, meaning stop, to the time they actually stop might be a split second longer than I expect. But my body's always ready, and I kick my leg off and don't let them continue to stack me. I always have my getaway moment. So that's all part of protecting myself, and you need to do the same to you. If you have certain injuries or as we call them, chronic injuries, where your elbow just is kind of tight, and if somebody extends it in an arm bar, if they just extend your arm all the way, you're going to feel a lot of pain. What you need to do is maybe as soon as they get your arm, just tap and just let it go, right? That's protecting yourself. It's on one hand, you can always blame your partner for injuring you, but in the end, it really comes down to yourself. And once you get that mindset of protecting yourself, hey Casper, good to see you, Sydney, Australia. Hey, speaking of Sydney, hopefully one day we'll get Dave and I out there. Already, one of our black belts, Jack Toffer's been making it out there. I think he went one time, and he did about 3 or 4 different seminars there. So soon we'll get Dave and I out there. And Iceland, that's awesome. Hey, we got to get out to Iceland too. Australia, Iceland. I've seen the hot springs that you have in Iceland. They're beautiful. So guys who've just joined on, please go ahead and hit the like button. I really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribers, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. And when you're injured, I'm sorry, one other subscriber mentioned that I'm breaking thoughts and all that, talking to you guys, but oh wow. I'm trying to get this live streaming thing. I've gotten good at doing videos, but live streaming is only like my 4th or 5th time. So yeah, just be sure to tap early and often, just to save yourself, because when you think about winning battles and wars, you want to win the war, but you're okay giving up battles. Battles are short-term, wars are long-term, right? And you don't want to be injured long-term. You don't want to be crippled, right? That's really what can happen. You can be crippled doing anything, especially jiu-jitsu, right? Think about, football players who get crippled, just from the contact that they have. Well, we've got contact as well, and we manipulate the neck a lot. So that's one, and we manipulate it through chokes. We manipulate it through positioning, through neck cranks, all kinds of stuff. So with the neck being as delicate as it is, you need to really make sure you first learn how to protect yourself before you learn how to submit somebody. Now, that's a good one for white belts. White belts are always, the question is always, how can I submit somebody? How can I choke somebody? How can I armbar? It should be the other way around, and it should be, how do I not let him hurt my arm? How do I not let him hurt my shoulder? So that mindset about protecting yourself, that's the first and most important thing. Another thing is, you see a lot of people and they tape their fingers up, like every single digit. They'll take 10 minutes, maybe, just taping their fingers up, taping their ankles up, putting on a knee brace, right? It's funny how when you see a lot of people prepare to train, they have to basically keep their body put together because their bodies are falling apart. And thankfully, at 50 years old and doing this almost 30 years, I'm still in really good shape versus a lot of people I know that are even 40. But a lot of it is because I've really worked at preserving myself. So one of the things that I mentioned, so the taped up hands. Thanks, Jeff. So before I go into taped up hands, okay, so Jeff mentioned that he's a 41-year-old with bad knees, and I have a repaired knee. So my right knee was repaired twice, lateral meniscus and ACL. The funny thing is that's my good knee now. My bad knee is my unrepaired knee, and that knee I've popped. You're training, all of a sudden you hear the pop, and your partner stops like, whoa, what was that? Was that you? Yeah, that was me. I've had 3 of those in my left knee. I've had 3 or 4 in my right knee, and you need to really make sure you take care of your body. So with regard to the finger taping, the reason why people need to tape their fingers is because they grip way too hard. When you play a grip game, right? So I'll give you an example. You're in my guard, I grab your collar. And when I grab your collar, you go and grab my hand and you yank my fingers off, right? Because you don't want me to hold onto your collar. Number one, I can tell you that's a stupid way to play the game. Why? Because if I have one hand on your collar and you put two hands on my arm to rip my hand off, don't I still have a hand free? I do, right? So you've got two hands committed to my one arm just holding your collar, and my other hand is now doing something else, right? If it were a fight, I'm whacking you. I'm, hitting you in the face or anything like that. You can close it. Sorry, my wife and daughter came home and my dog's all excited. So Crunchy, you might have seen him in the videos. And when you play that grip game, so here it is. So I don't want him to have a grip, so I'm not gonna let him have them, right? But that means that I'm afraid of grips. So that means that if I'm afraid of somebody grabbing me, then I will also be fighting to grip somebody because I think grips are that important. Really, folks, grips are not that important. They are important at times, but they're not important at all the time, at every moment. You need to play so that you don't care about what your opponent does. Remember, it's always about you win based on what your opponent gives you, right? Now, there is that thinking that you're going to take something from your opponent. Yes, but you're going to take it when they are not protecting it. You're not going to try to take it when they're protecting it. And the most vulnerable parts are your hands and your fingers. When I first started, and I didn't know any better, I was just gripping for dear life. And after about a week or so, my fingers were so sore, and everybody would just tell me, "Oh, you know what? You'll get used to it. It's just your fingers are weak." And yeah, and I did. But what I learned was that I don't have an extraordinarily strong grip. Any guy off the street, could shake my hand, and I'm like, well, that hurts. That's a good grip. So most people would think, well, I'm going to just work my grip. Well, every time you work your grip, you're adding motion to your fingers. And you do want motion in your fingers, but you don't want hard motion. I don't want my hands to live a hard life. I want my body, through my positioning, to do the work for my hands, my body, my weight. Everything is bigger than my fingers, right? I mean, do we have muscles in our fingers? I don't know. Anybody know that? Excuse me. I'm just kind of reading through some comments. Just kind of bear with me. Okay. So with regard to the hands, protect them, but let them have an easier life, because I'm sure, who's that guy that trains out of house in San Francisco? Real funny guy, long hair. Anybody, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank here. Kurt Osiander, right? You've seen pictures of, yeah, thanks, Jeff. You've seen pictures or videos where he shows his hands, it's all taped up and his knuckles are all gnarled. And that's a different style of game. And I hear Keenan Cornelius is like that too. His hands are really bad. He's what, early mid-20s, and from what I understand, he's in early stages or mid stages of arthritis in his hands. And really, the hands are used to grip when you're choking somebody out. And a lot of times, it's even funny. I learned this from Dave, in that Dave's got an incredible grip, but there's this one way he chokes when he's mounted on you. He's using hardly any grip. It's really more like hooks. He's got one hand in your collar and the other hand's kind of hooked on you. He's pulling you in and he's choking you that way. This other hand is not gripping anything. It's literally hooking your trap when he's choking you. So all those ways that really make it easy to use your body and make it easier on your hands are always stuff that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for ways to make my hands or my fingers stronger, right? I don't throw my belt over a chin-up bar, hang from my belt, and do chin-ups by that. It's great, but really, I'm trying to, if you want to work your back, your hands are going to be the weak link in that case, because your fingers are the weak link, and your back is not really going to get exercised if it has to rely on your grip strength. Right? It's far better to do a motion where you can not rely on your grips, which is why You see bodybuilders and weightlifters and powerlifters use straps, right? Because the hands are the weak link. So the jiu-jitsu mentality is, I'm going to just make my ups. Well, I think it's the wrong way to think, because you're trying to make the smallest part of your body be able to do the work of a much larger muscle group in your back. And so, okay, that's that. So now let me kind of just look at some. All right, so Jose was asking about a stretching video. And, I was actually with the new studio that we're moving into, I was actually thinking of having Zach, who's one of our junior instructors, who was on a video. You can kind of see his video going back. It was a video I did with two of my purple belts, David and Zach. And Zach is a strength and conditioning coach for a Division I football team. And if anyone knows this stuff, it's like somebody like Zach. All credit to the CrossFit places and stuff, but the amount of training a CrossFit person goes through is nowhere near the type of training that a Division I sports and conditioning coach who manages a football team does. So Zach's been actually taking over a lot of our workouts, and he's been changing it up on us. We still do a lot of the traditional stuff that have to do with helping your jiu-jitsu, but he's been adding in a bunch of other things that will help with flexibility. So what I'll do is I'll have Rusty over one time, and we'll do a video of Zach running an example of a workout. And just on Thursday night, our workout went 45 minutes, and I cut it short. I mean, he wasn't done. I mean, there was still more to go, but there was some new stuff that he introduced to us that was just blowing our minds. It was so good and so different from what I'm used to. Now, some of you this may be old hat to you. I'm not sure. I'm sure some of you will look at it. That's pretty typical. But I can tell you, for the most part, it was very eye opening, in the stuff that how I'm weak. I'm not a strong guy, but I can usually, our workout is easy. I do it, no problem. And I make it harder here and there, but that workout was just killing me at 45 minutes. I said, no, let's get on to the self-defense already. Other things with regard to, let's see, if your shoulders are bad, you need to, number one, make sure you know how to protect it. So I'll give you an example. So Kimura and omoplata. No, Kimura and Americana, right? Kimura, Americana. The thing about those is that they either pop your shoulder or pop your elbow, depending on how they're set up. The most important thing for those, a lot of people get injured on them because most people don't really have flexible shoulders, number one. And number two, most people, when they apply it with a little bit of, what kind of, the word I'm thinking of is violence. I don't know if you ever seen it, and I'm sure it's happened to you, where the only way you know how to protect yourself from a Kimura is you grab your belt, right? You're holding on for dear life, either your belt or you're reaching inside of your leg, right? You're grabbing your pants or you're grabbing your hamstring tendon to prevent him from setting up that Kimura on there. And if you don't know the proper way to set it up and to get it, what you're going to do is you're really going to try to rip his grip off. And if you don't know the theory and the principle about ripping a grip off, then you're going to do it in a powerful, violent way. And what will happen is, if your opponent happens to have a very tight shoulder, you're going to pop something. It's going to happen. So if you are the victim, you need to learn a few things about defending yourself from a guillotine. Number one is realize that your elbow point is the most important thing to think about, because whoever controls the elbow point controls the position. So if I am the one that is locking up a Kimura on you, right, that elbow point that you have is going to be, your elbow's coming up, you're like this, and your elbow's coming up this way to my chest, right? If I'm looking at your elbow point, I can maintain that Kimura. But if you're able to move your elbow point down and disappear the elbow point, meaning you've got control of your elbow point, then I will not get the Kimura. So one good thing is, go ahead and practice with your partner how to get your elbow point on your side, right? So if he's got his arm locked around and he's got your elbow in his sights, then you need to find a way and practice getting your elbow from here to here, right? And when you are applying a Kimura, you need to learn how to break a grip without having to do it violently, because you don't know if your opponent has flexible shoulders or not, right? That is a common way people get hurt, is through kimuras. Americana is a little bit different, right? Americana, it's the same thing as far as the elbow point, right? Because you're going to come under my arm and you're going to have control of my elbow. So I need to get my elbow here, and I will then control my elbow point, and then you'll have no shot at getting the kimura on me. For me, though, if I'm training with somebody and they're very good at setting up a kimura, an Americana. If they're very good at setting up an Americana, and I mentioned earlier, my arm doesn't go all that way, so I need to really turn into it to protect it, to protect my shoulder. But if they've got a very good positioning on me and they can pin this shoulder down and then they put this hand on the ground, as soon as they get a hold of it, I'm already tapping, right? I know I'm beat, and I don't want to get to the point where my shoulder's cracked involuntarily, and then I'm going to be out for a while, right? It's not worth it to me, right? If you beat me, you beat me, whatever. But if I know it's coming, which the majority of the time I do, then I will position myself to the point where I can get this shoulder up so that you can't really get control of my elbow, right? If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them in. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. So kimuras and Americanas, remember, elbow control, elbow point control. Now, Jeff's got a question here. Let me read it. With regard to keeping your elbow safely inside, I find doing a modified gable grip, the label grip. Yeah. Any way that you can to prevent or to get that elbow point controlled, do it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can, if somebody's going for that kimura, if you can find a way to grab your lapel, that's one. You can grab your belt, that's another. You can grab inside your leg, it's another. But just know that those are usually temporary, and that since you don't have position on your opponent when he's trying for the kimura, there's a good chance that when he gets to it, he can break your grip, right? He needs to make sure everything else is set up, right? It's everything is checklist, right? Point one, do I have position? Yes. Do I have my loop on his arm? Yes. Do I have control of his elbow? Yes. Now, have I broken his grip yet? Oh, here I am. So when you're in defense, you're really trying to beat him at some point to be able to get out. Beat him at whatever he's trying to check off in order, right? So that's for your shoulders. As far as your elbows, when somebody goes for an armbar on you, realize that if somebody's going for an armbar and you're on your side, that by the time they lay back, your arm is already extended and popped. So you need to make sure that if you're on your side, and as soon as they break your grip, if you can't tap him quick, yell, tap, right? So yell, tap, 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 just say it so there's no misunderstanding, right? One thing that I do is that when I teach arm bars, and this is how Dave taught me to teach it, is that you can go and you can rip arm bars quick. You can rip the setups without hurting your opponent. And what you do is you rip that elbow and you just go back. And then you can go back hard if your opponent's holding his arm. You can go back really hard. Unless you're really off to the side, then if you go back, then your shoulder will get ripped. So one of the ways that we break somebody's grip, there's a few staple ways we do it, but one of the main ways we break somebody's grip is we actually target your shoulder, believe it or not. We don't worry about your hands. And that's a pretty good way to separate him from here to extend the arm out, is to actually target the shoulder. I think Dave might have done that on one of our Patreon videos. So if that's something that you want to learn how to do, then go ahead and subscribe to our Patreon channel. Speaking of which, I think we've got about 72 videos up on there now. When we first launched it in February, a good portion of our subscribers have been on since the very beginning. I think we launched with like 20, 25 videos. So, and I think Professor Dave just answered a question on video from one of our Patreons that asked a question about a particular topic. So he went and filmed the video, and it's uploaded now, and Rusty's editing it, so it should be up the next day or two. So we do try to be responsive to our patrons as well as our YouTube subscribers like you. Matt, tell us your thoughts on the benefits of going through hell, escaping the worst position in. Okay, so Matt is down in. Is it Tyler? Yeah, Tyler and Terrell. I always get confused, but yeah, Matthias is down in Tyler, and did a couple of privates with him, did one in his garage with a couple of his team members. And he wants to know the benefits of going through hell and escaping the worst position. So the worst position is really when you're belly, right? The fight ends when he's got you belly down, hooks underneath, your legs are floating up in the air, and you're kind of splayed out, and there's nothing you do, and the rear naked choke comes. So that's what we call the worst position. So what Matthias was talking about is tell us the thoughts of going through hell and escaping it. So sometimes what happens is that you need to give your back to escape. I'm not saying give your back in a turtle way. I'm not a big fan of the turtle position, only because I can go over it later on. But you have turtle where you're on your knee, you're face down, partner's got hooks in, and you're on your knees, turtle. But when you're splayed out, then you're in worse position. So the thought of going through hell means that sometimes to escape somewhere, you have to go into a bad position. And when you enter that bad position, I liken that to entering the gates of hell. And the thing about hell is that what I believe about hell is that it's finite. It's not infinite. So when you walk into hell, you just keep walking, because if you keep walking, it'll end at some point and you'll get through it, right? And that's the same with anything in jiu-jitsu. Whenever you're in a bad position, don't do what you know is wrong, because you know that you're going to have to endure a little bit of pain, right? Bow and arrow chokes. Bow and arrow chokes, the thing that everybody wants to do is they want to try to break the grip with the hand. More often than not, though, the way he's positioned, you won't be able to break the grip. So what you need to do is you actually need to try to roll through it and go through hell and deal with the choke while your body escapes. Right. It's just another version of that whole thing about position before submission. Right. If you don't have the position, you can't submit. If you're on top, now flip it for the guy on the bottom. If the guy is trying to submit you, if you can take his position away from him, he can't submit you. Really. Right. So going through hell is just a mental mindset that I use and that I teach my students and people who I visit to teach as well. So that's a good question. Matthias. Now, as far as doing a seminar in Canada, Jeff had asked, that is something we can do. And in fact, Dave and I have an upcoming, seminar camp. I don't know, however you want to think about it. It's not really seminar because it's not one day. We're going to be there for 3 days. Tuesday, we arrive Tuesday and we leave Friday. And we're going to be visiting the Gitmo Jiu-Jitsu Club, the Guantanamo Bay Jiu-Jitsu Club. So it's on the Naval Air Station, Guantanamo, and they have a Jiu-Jitsu club that's I think it's headed right now by a blue or purple belt. It's just whoever. It's not really a school; it's more of a club, and they fall under Luis Pena, who's one of Rickson's black belts from way back in Brazil, who lives in Florida now, in Jacksonville, I think. So he goes and teaches them every so often. So one of the members is a subscriber to our channel and had mentioned that they're out there. So Dave and I decided, hey, let's go do it. But in order to do that, I had to get a passport because, can you believe 50 years old, never had a passport, never needed one, never had any desire to leave the country. Went to Mexico once. That was okay. But what I'm told is I just didn't go to the nice parts. TJ, nice? I don't know. So I ended up getting a passport, yeah, and because I needed one to go to Guantanamo. So now that I have a passport, yes, we can start going wherever. There's a bunch of things that we have that I'm on the business side that we're laying out, but a lot of that is the foundation is already in. Now from there, we can have a little bit of fun. So like I mentioned earlier, we're moving. We're going to be at 630 Park Square in Flower Mound. That's where our home is going to be. We've got a lease. We've got a long-term lease there. And we've built out the studio. So it's almost done. We'll be there starting from Friday. Now, what else as far as injury? Knee injuries, those are tough ones, okay? Especially if you're standing up doing judo. I got mine injured. So Jeff, I'm sorry, go back to Canada, so I see Jeff there. I don't know anybody in Canada, and neither does Dave. I think actually, I take it back. There might have been a few guys that actually flew in from Canada to take some privates from Dave. They did it once last year. I put it together for him, but I'll probably go check on it again. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to go up there and teach. But yeah, it's something we're open to. Now, with regard to knees, when I busted my knee, it was from doing judo with another white belt. Actually, I was a green belt. It was a white belt. And it was me, stupid. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing 100%, and I didn't turn a certain way. And because of that, he squatted on my knee. And you know how your knee bends this way? He sat on my knee in this direction. So my knee went that way. Pretty sore. But yeah, knees are a common thing. And especially if you're on your knees a lot, you're going to hurt them. If you're practicing throws, just make sure that your opponent is always angled in a certain way whenever trying to throw you. You know, you need to protect yourself again. So if he's trying to do like an Osoto where, you know, he tries to kick your leg off of the ground, you know, like, you know, that whole thing about, you know, if your hand's here, you kick your arm off, you fall down. So you hit your leg instead. Make sure he's not doing it pulling your leg from the side, from the outside toward the center. Make sure that he's straight on with you and doing it. That's one thing, right? And as far as knee bars and stuff, we practice knee bars. Somebody had asked about it earlier. Do we have anything against it? No, we don't. But we just really work on it for our purple belts and up. We introduce it to our blue belts, but it's not anything that we're really working on with them at this point. You know, there are other stuff we're working on, but purple belts and up is usually when we start really going more into the leg stuff. But there are ways to practice it in a way so that you don't hurt each other. So just like I was talking about the arm bar, how you can rip an arm bar really quick. You can go through the positioning, move really quick, and you don't need to separate his arm. Separating the arm is the easy part. The hard part is getting the position. So just work the position, work the position. Same thing with the knee bar. Work into the position and just going over and over and over, and just loop the knee, you know, the back of his knee. Just loop the back of his knee. Don't try to get his ankle or his heel and straighten it out every time, because if you try to extend your partner's leg 100 times, you're going to crack it 5 or 6. So don't even try to extend it, just get to the position, and then later on work on breaking his leg loose and straightening it out. So that's a good way to protect yourself from knee injuries. One thing that we get a lot at Kama Jiu-Jitsu, and no matter how much we try to protect our members from it, it's because we've got a very heavy style, and especially with passing guard, it's pretty common to have people separate ribs. I remember seeing Rickson get his ribs separated once, and I just thought to myself, I don't ever want to experience that because you know, Rickson to me was like Superman, right? That nothing can really hurt him. But then I saw him just kind of writhing on the ground in pain because he had separated his rib. So I thought, holy crap, that must be really bad. Now, for me, I did actually separate a rib once. It was probably about 10 years ago, and it hurt like a mother. It was bad. And the only reason why I could sleep was because I had a doctor called a physiatrist, and that's a new one, right? A physiatrist is really the one who deals with the outside versus the orthopedic surgeon who cuts you on the inside. So anyway, small bit of trivia. He gave me a Toradol shot, and that thing was like the best ever. I really wanted to train. I mean, I had no pain after I had that shot, and it lasted for a week. And then he gave me another one to take me another 2 weeks, but I could sleep. And that was one thing. If you have separated ribs, you can't sleep. So if you've experienced this injury before, I'm not a doctor, but I would say go get the Toradol shot and so you can get some sleep, but do not train because you're still injured. You just don't feel it. But the reason why rib injuries happen is because we twist a lot. A lot of times your upper body will be locked down by your opponent, but your legs will not. And you'll try to get your body to turn to your side because most of the escapes, you need to turn to your side, right? So if your body is pinned, you want to get to your side. Sometimes the easiest way to do it is to get your legs, swing them the other way and turn your body. Use the force of that to turn your body. Well, if your opponent has you locked down and your shoulders are stuck to the ground and your legs move in a violent motion, you will pop something. So, and speaking of the rib injuries, Jeff John James had just mentioned he had as well. And that's the exact same. He got it done from stack passing. And here's the thing. Another way to prevent yourself from getting injured. When somebody is stack passing, you're doing the old, what we call the number one escape, or the old Elio Gracie guard pass. When you get stacked, the point at which you will pop your rib is when your leg is just disengaging from your opponent's neck area when he's stacking you. When he disengages it, when you disengage your leg and your upper body is held down, your legs will go the other way and you can snap it. So the best thing is to, if you feel that you're about ready to get past, and that's what I teach our students called the 51% rule. So this is actually a pretty good concept for you to think about. 51% rule states that if your opponent is 51% of the way to passing your guard, meaning he's gone from 40%, 45%, 49%, 50%, and he's now 51, meaning he's now got the upper hand. And he's trending, meaning he's going from 51 on his way to 55, 60, 65. Let it go. Let him have the guard pass and fight him from cross-side. So, or side control, as some people like to say. Because what will happen is we all have that point where oh crap, he's going to pass. But our instinct tells us, don't let him pass, don't let him pass, right? That is the dumbest thing you can do, is when when he's 51% and he's trending toward 100 and you're still telling yourself, don't let him pass, don't be stupid. Let him have it. Fight him from the cross side, okay? That is a way to prevent your body from twisting, right? Legs going opposite direction of your shoulders, and then it's a way to prevent your ribs getting popped. And I actually know 2 people who've got their ribs popped twice, different places. So yeah, not pleasant. Just that. And let me see. Jeff again here. My knee injuries were preventable, but I was too proud to tap. Yeah. Tore his ACL and meniscus on his right knee in 2004. Got that fixed, and then tore my other ACL, my left knee, in 2007. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, I've it's funny because I've got my left knee popped 3 times. That's my my non-repaired knee. It hurts more than my repaired knee, and I don't, it's kind of a sick thought, but sometimes I wish that it would just be torn so I can get it fixed and have it good. But I don't want to go in there and fix a knee that's not really that bad, not bad enough I want to go in there. Hey Brian, how you doing? In fact, everyone, Brian over at Gator Pit, I was just over there yesterday. Great place, by the way. So if you're ever in Shreveport, Louisiana, look him up. Great bunch of guys. I love going there. I've been there like, I don't know, 4 times now. So what have we covered? We covered shoulders, knees, fingers, right, the important ones, and ribs, right, which are very common. And as far as your neck, protect your neck. If somebody's got you locked up, and this happens a lot from north-south, if somebody tries to choke you from north-south, then you want to make sure that your body can move with your head. If you feel that you can't move your body anymore and you feel his hip moving your head a certain way, just tap. The neck is the most important part because it's hard to fix that. So if you want to do this for a long time, make sure to protect your neck. And you're protecting from, this kind of stuff or this kind of stuff, twisting. Sorry, I see my daughter running around. Okay, let me go and try and hit some questions now. What do you think of competing in mid to late 30s and brown belt or black belt level? You mean age, mid to late 30s? So that would be you'd be competing in masters. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead and have fun with it. The recovery from knee surgery is the most painful thing ever. So Casper, as far as the recovery from knee surgeries, I had 2 of them. And really, my meniscus was more painful than my ACL, which is kind of weird because the meniscus is less major. But maybe it was just me. But from what I understand, the worst pain to recover from is shoulder surgery. I haven't luckily experienced it, although I see that it might be in my future. But yeah, from what I understand, it's very painful. My cousin, who runs Taco Jiu-Jitsu, which is our Hawaii affiliate, he recovered from that. He said he's a pretty tough guy, and he said it was the worst pain he's ever felt. Let's see. Any advice on long biceps tendonitis? So any advice on long biceps tendonitis? Don't quite know what that is. I have golfer's elbow, both sides, and that's from doing too many chin-ups. So my elbows are not really strong, I guess, and I was doing a chin-ups kit for a couple of years. I do a lot of push-ups. I used to do a lot of chin-ups because they're complementary, right? If you do one, you got to do the other, right? The reason why a lot of people have lower back pain is because they have weak abs or a weak core. So when I was doing a lot of push-ups, it made sense for me to do a lot of chin-ups. But anyway, my elbows just didn't do too well. So I guess I'll never be breaking David Goggins' record, right? 4,000 chin-ups. Well, more than 4,000. Crazy guy. Let's see. I think Heath Ward. I think I popped my rib back when I was 12. I'm 20 now. I don't know when it happened, but I was training in judo every week, and I would not have stopped training. Yeah, that's probably what you experienced. So John James, I guess, torn rotator cuff. Man, you've what do you do again with how do you get all those injuries? Was it from jiu-jitsu? It's have fun with this stuff. I mean, it's not fun when you're getting injured, and a lot of our injuries has to do with just being proud, and that's where they say check your ego at the door, because you're gonna get tapped by somebody you do not expect to get tapped by. It always happens. Somebody you're always better than. And here's one thing too. There was this one guy, I can't remember who it was a while back, but I remember telling me that I was always better than him. This was years and years ago. I was purple belt then. And I used to always beat him. And I never, ever expected getting beat by him. And he beat me one day. And one of the reasons why he beat me is because in his mind, he's thinking, I'm going to get Ryan today. I'm going to get Ryan today. Whereas me, I'm not even thinking about him. I'm just thinking, I've already beat you. I beat you once, I can beat you again. Not true, right? So I got kind of cocky, and yeah, he smashed me. So that's really how I think you need to go about preventing injury, preventing it by protecting yourself. And every place in your body that is highly susceptible to injury, you just need to really work on how to prevent getting submitted by it. And then also do the step prior in how to not let him get to the position there. Don't let him get the position on you. Don't let him, once he has a position, don't let him lock the arm up or lock whatever body part is that he's trying to get. And then, if you can't prevent that, then just tap. So anyway, that's about all I got for you. I kind of just want to get this one off and out to you guys. And I figured this was easier. And I'm glad that there's more people doing this on a Saturday night. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I appreciate your feedback on the comments and all that. All that stuff really helps. So I know most of us watch videos and never comment, right? I have that habit. I watch a lot of videos, and I never comment. I do remember I try to remember to hit the thumbs up though if I really like it though. Got a couple of to show my thumb. I find it hard to come back. Yeah, thumb. Okay, so somebody destroyed his thumb, Hayden. And the thumb is one that's really, fingers are very hard to come back from. So, which is why I had mentioned earlier in the video, protect your hands. Don't make your hands do more work than they were designed to do. They're the smallest, among the smallest body parts that you're working on, but you're working with, but you're making them work disproportionately hard. As far as your thumb though, just move it a little bit, because if you keep it not moved for too long, it'll kind of get stuck there. So just go see a good PT on it and have them work on it with you. So Faiz said, you're a self-defense school. How do you have students in your academy that compete in major competitions? We really don't do very much as far as competitions. Although Dr. Dean, who's our judo coach, wants our kids to start doing judo tournaments beginning August. There's a tournament here in Dallas in August, which we'll try to get a few kids into to kind of try to get the ball rolling. But as far as jiu-jitsu competitions, one of the reasons why we're not a fan of it is because as a self-defense school, the more you do competitions, you want to win, and you want to have every edge that you can to win. And sometimes that edge is doing something that would not necessarily be smart in a fight, but it'll help you win. So it's not kind of an either or, but it can be. You know, if you want to get to the upper echelons of these tournaments and you want to be like the greatest competitor, more often than not, you're going to have to make sacrifices on your self-defense game. And if you don't, you're going to face it, right? Crone did lose matches, but I think he lost a lot of the matches because he didn't train those competition techniques, and he didn't really. He wasn't, I guess, schooled in some of the techniques. And he didn't get beaten too much. He mostly got beaten by points, if anything, or advantages, you know, stupid stuff like that. But yeah, so as far as the tournaments, it's not a priority in ours, and it never will be as far as I can see. But we do not discourage students from competing. If they want to compete, we always support it. And also, if one of my students wanted to compete in an IBJJF tournament locally, I would not be able to coach them because I don't have access to the coaching area because I'm not a black belt in the IBJJF rules, right? Because Dave's not even a second degree in their mind, so he doesn't have the authority in their mind to promote any black belts. So then, therefore, I can't be on the coach. So, yeah. So if my students want to go, I have to coach them prior, but I can't be on the mat with them. Let's see. Thanks for 6'2". So Love Noir 000. 6'2", 260 pounds. Handicaps himself by not putting full weight on my training partners or just muscling out of bad positions, and it's helping my technique a ton. I mean, by not muscling out of bad positions and taps often. That's very good. Yeah. But as far as not putting too much weight on your opponents, that doesn't really help you because you need to learn how to apply your weight. And by having a lot of smaller opponents and not putting your weight on them, you're not going to get proficient at doing it the correct way. And there may be a time that would call for you to put your weight on somebody, but because you train to not put weight on people because you don't want to hurt them, then you end up hampering your training, just like competition, right? If in competition, you train to not let go, not uncross your legs when they stand up. You go up with them because that's what you're training. Then when you're in a fight, you're going to get slammed. So try to find opponents that are a little bit heavier that you can put weight on, that you can put pressure on. And those smaller opponents that you're not going to put weight on, you're doing it to help them out, right? You're trying to give them somebody a little bit heavier so they can kind of feel it. You're not out to crush them. But at the same time, do that only occasionally and find more time for you to train with bigger guys, even if they're not that good. Bigger guys, and just have them take the pressure. That way you can then more efficiently put pressure on, right? How would I heal from a torn elbow? That's a good one. Okay, from an applied straight armbar overextended. Okay, so yeah, I've gotten my arm popped multiple times, and the only thing that really helps your elbow is if you haven't torn a ligament there, is you just need to don't get it straightened up like that. Don't get armbar. And if somebody loops that arm, just tap. You know, if you're going to continue to train, what you can do is you can put that arm in your belt. I remember we used to do that way back when, you know, whenever we're injured, you just, you know, if somebody locked my left elbow, I didn't want to stop training. So I'd go the next day, but I'd just train with my belt with my hand in my belt, and I just trained right-handed. Or if it was the other way around, my right hand was injured, I put my right arm, my right elbow was injured, I put my right hand away, and I train left-handed. You can do that all day. And when you do that, it actually makes you better, believe it or not. So sometimes an injury actually helps you, right? So when I hurt my knee, I couldn't pass guard right-handed standing up anymore. So what did I do? I passed guard left-handed, and I got pretty good at passing guard left-handed. So now where I'll go either way. I don't have any preference going left or right, whereas before I'd always pass right-handed, and I'm sure most of you do too. So don't wait for an injury to happen for you to create opportunities for yourself. Go ahead and start playing left side now. Let's see. Some of my biggest leaps in my game have come from when I was injured. Yeah. Don't you agree that it takes you away from an A game and makes you think outside of it? That's exactly right, Terry. And looks like that's all I've got for you. Hey guys, I really appreciate you, and I want to thank you for joining us on the channel. You guys have been great. I've never thought that I would have so much fun doing videos, live streams as well. So if there's anything that you need, go ahead and message below. If you missed this, if you're watching this later on, just go ahead and hit the comments. I check the comments every day, sometimes twice a day, and I'll answer where I can. Anyway, I hope all is well, and I hope you guys have a happy training session. Take care now. Bye-bye.